Hi everyone, welcome to our channel, Rebecca, Stu, and the crew. I'm Rebecca, and today we have some Dollar Tree craft ideas for you guys. So let's go over our supplies for our first craft today. We'll need these wood boards from Dollar Tree and some wood flower cutouts, paint of your choice, some gel stain or wood stain. We'll also need some paper towels or baby wipes and some paint brushes. We're going to need a razor blade, scissors, a pencil, and some hot glue. So let's get crafty. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to paint the frame to these pictures so that they match. This one's already a darker brown, but we're going to put the stain on to try to get the colors as close as possible. The frame on the other wood board that I bought is a lot lighter, and I just wanted these to match. They only had one of each at the time. They had a bunch that were a little bit smaller, but I wanted this larger 8x10 size, which is why I got the two that don't match in color. And I was going to pretty much paint the backgrounds anyway, so I really only needed to change the frame. So as you can see, this frame's a lot lighter, so we're going to go over it a few times with the wood stain until it gets as dark as we can get it to match the other frame. Then taking our wood floral cutout, we'll lay that on top of our frame in the direction we want it to go and mark it off with our pencil. Then we're going to cut that string out of the top. It leaves a little hole, so if you have some wood filler, that would be great to go ahead and fill that hole in, though it's not necessary. I actually used wall putty from the Dollar Tree and filled in that tiny hole. So then take your razor blade and just score it a few times. And as you can see, if you just score a few times through the wood, it pops off pretty easily just by wiggling it back and forth just a little bit. And it will just pop right off. And you can trim off any little pieces that break if you need to. So now that we have the first one done, we've already got the measurement down. Then what we'll do is we'll just layer it on top of the second picture wood cutout flower there, and we'll just mark it with our pencil. And we can cut that whole bottom piece off this time in just one piece, since we have the measurement correct and we know that it's going to fit. So now that we have those cut down to size, we're going to take this gel stain and we're just going to put on a little bit at a time and then rub off any excess so that we can neatly paint these with the stain, not have too much stain on, so it won't take too long to dry. And I really love these gel stains by Rust-Oleum because they don't run and they don't have a lot of odor either. They're really easy to work with, and I did pick these up at Dollar Tree about a year ago. So now, while the frame has dried and the floral pieces are drying, we're going to go ahead and paint those backgrounds. For this one, we're using the color Linen. This is not a chalk paint, so it's a little bit thinner, and so it will take more than one coat, especially because that background is so dark. The paint was a little bit older, a little bit dry, so I ended up adding a tad bit of water to my brush to help smear the paint, and that seems to do the trick. Now for the second frame, we're going to use this really pretty rose color just with some paints that I mixed together, a little bit of purple and pink, and a little bit of a lighter tan color. Gave me this really pretty rose color, and it's okay if I see the wood green through this color. I really don't mind it. Now we're going to take some hot glue and put that on the back of our floral pieces that have completely dried, and then we'll center these on our frames, making sure that the hanger that's already attached to the frame is at the top before we glue these down. There's a hanger at the top and on the side because you can hang these vertical or horizontal. Just make sure your hanger is the direction you want it to be when you glue on your flowers. And then we'll center this one, and pretty easy. These 3D floral pictures. This was an idea from these pictures I saw at Hobby Lobby, which were actually about, I think they're like $21 a piece. And so I wanted to recreate those for a decoration for our room. So now we'll recreate something sort of like this picture here. Of course, it's not going to be exact, but it's a $25 picture, and we're going to do our best with Dollar Tree supplies. So we're going to be using this frame here, and then we'll need, of course, some paint and some paint brushes. We're also going to need one of these roller cutters from Dollar Tree and one of the faux leather purses. Then we're going to need some vinyl, or you can use stickers. We'll need a stencil or a floral that you can cut down to size. And then we're going to use some of these beads. So let's get crafty. So you'll see what we're going to do here in just a minute. We're going to take this wild iris and the flamenco red apple barrel paint to create this really pretty dark burgundy color that's going to be as close as I can get to the flowers that we're using in the room that we're redecorating. So then we'll pull the back off of that frame and remove the hanger. We'll clean the glass with some alcohol and a baby wipe because we are going to be using some vinyl. Now you could use a paint marker to draw your white flower on here. You could use those wood flowers we just used, or you could cut the vinyl out by hand if you don't have a vinyl cutter. It's really up to you. So we're just going to remove the straps off of the bag and set those aside. And then taking a rotary cutter, we're going to cut through this faux leather bag. And this is to create the background for our picture, just because we have to make ours a little bit different than the original, of course. It was pretty much the color scheme and the idea that I liked, and we have to make it our own. And of course, we're using the Dollar Tree materials, so we have to, kind of think out of the box just a little bit. So now we have our leather piece cut out. We'll trim around the backing for the frame that we have all popped open there. I just kind of drew out the outline with a Sharpie, and then I cut it down to size with my scissors. And cut out all the little notches for the sides. And I ended up cutting out an extra piece for the backing as well, which we'll see here in just a few minutes. So once we have it all figured out, make sure it fits, we're going to just glue this down. That's going to make it a little bit difficult to pull the sides up because it's a lot thicker. So once we glue all the sides down, what we're going to do is we're going to take some masking tape and tape the corners while we glue the edges from the inside together and make sure that it stays up. Once it stays up and we've got it glued into place, and you can go ahead and remove the tape from the border. And as you can see, just a little bit with that tape on the corner, it helps hold it in place while it dries. So we've got our leather on the front and the back, and then we painted the sides of the box black. Now taking that vinyl cutout, like I said, you could use a paint marker. You can freehand paint on the glass if you like. You could cut the vinyl out by hand with a razor blade. That's not hard to do either. I've done it before in videos down here. And we're just going to put our vinyl on the glass. And then we'll flip it over and we're going to paint behind the white plant that we put on the front. So if you're using paint on the front, just make sure it's dry all the way before you flip it over to paint the back. And this is going to take a few coats of thick paint. You want to let it dry in between coats to make sure it doesn't look streaky. At first it will look a little bit streaky, but that's okay. Just give it time. Once it dries and you add a few coats of the paint, it'll start to really fill in and you won't see any of the streaks on the glass. And this is not chalk paint. This is just the regular apple barrel paint in like the 50-cent bottles. So we'll let it dry all the way, and here's what it looks like from the front so far. We'll pop that in our frame. Then I cut a few of these gold beads down just to fill in the background, and then we'll pop the back onto our picture frame. And here's our own little recreation, just with the same idea, with that really pretty red background and the white flower on the front. We added the gold with the beads to kind of bring in the frame, and here's what it looks like all finished. So now for our third project today, we're going to recreate these little wall knobs, which are hangers for like purses and coats and jewelry or whatnot, whatever you want. We're going to recreate those. Obviously, those are from Hobby Lobby as well, so we'll need these sticky wall tile. We're also going to use this wall hook from Dollar Tree, and then we'll use these die cut. They come in like a 6-pack and a whole bunch of different styles. We'll need some paint and some paint brushes. We're going to also use the paint pens from Dollar Tree, and then a stylus or one of the dotting tools. We'll need some hot glue. We're also going to need scissors and then some Mod Podge. We'll use this gold leaf found at the Dollar Tree. They have it in 3 different colors. And then these small knobs. We'll need a razor blade. and let's get crafty. So for this one, obviously it's going to be a little bit different, just our play with what we saw at the store, trying to recreate it. We're going to take the knobs off, and then taking a razor blade, we're just going to cut around that cutout on the tile. You can just follow the lines around that really pretty design. And once you go all the way around, go ahead and lift it up off of the backing. If it's stuck anywhere, just go back over it with your razor blade. And we're going to cut 2 of those out because we're going to make 2 of these wall hooks. I did remove the paper off of the backing just by sliding my razor blade underneath of the paper and pulling it off. And then any residue that's left behind, you can just use a wet paper towel, lightly dampen the sticker paper, and then in a few minutes it will rub right off and you'll get a completely nice clean slate to work with. So here I was having a little bit of trouble with the glue, but once I wet it, I was able to get it right off, as you can see here. So now we took some gold and brown paint, mixed that together, and that's what our background will be. I wanted a little bit of a metallic shine in the background in the gold and the brown color that we've been using throughout all the projects for this room that we're redecorating. And so it did just take the 1 coat of paint since the background was already pretty dark. Make sure you have the whole thing filled in and there are no spots peeking through there that need touched up. And then we'll allow this to dry. We'll paint the other one. And then while those are drying, we'll start painting the wall tile pieces. So I just started with a base coat of the color linen. And then I end up going back in with a little bit lighter paint. So I added some white to the color linen. I wanted it a little bit lighter. And it took a few coats of paint to completely cover the gray. But after about the 3rd coat, I was able to get a really nice coverage over the wall tile. And then I use a dry brush with a tiny little bit of rose gold paint on it, and then I just brush lightly over the wall tile to pick up some of that light pink color. And we're going to also go in with a little bit of antiquing wax as well, just to darken it up a little tiny bit. So this way you can still see the pink behind it, and then a little bit of the darker helps the details of the tile really pop. So now we'll take those die cutouts, and you can actually pull these apart and get a few extras. We don't want these super thick. We don't need them as thick as they are. Actually, the thinner pieces worked better for this project. So I pulled it apart until I got 4 pieces off of 1 die cut. So it's a little bit thin, so you don't want to saturate it too much with the paint because it is cardboard. It will start to tear. But if you just do a little tiny bit and let it dry, it'll firm back up once the paint has dried. I added a little bit of pink color to it as well. And then we'll add some hot glue once it's dry, and we'll glue these to the 4 corners. Always make sure they're going the right direction before you glue them down. And once you have all 4 corners done, then what we'll start to do is we'll start gluing on the tile. We're just going to add the hot glue there and hold that down into place. Make sure it's centered on your wall hook. And here's what they look like so far. And now we're going to add some more detail. So we're going to take that dotting tool and some white paint and just start adding some details around the wall tile. And this is a chalk paint that I'm using for the dotting tool. And then the edges, we're going to use a paint marker and just brighten up the edge just a little bit with some lighter colored paint. As you can see, I'm not adding a lot. I'm just putting a little bit of paint around the edge. And then we went in with the paint marker and we brightened up the leaves on our die cut pieces just to help them to pop up off the background. They seem to be getting lost a little bit in the background, which is why we're adding that little bit of lighter shade to really help it to pop up off the background. Here's what it looks like so far. Then I added a few more little dots and then some red flowers around the edges, just using the dotting tool. And then I added a few little dots of red on the actual tile piece itself as well, which you'll see in the finished product. So now we're going to take those knobs that we purchased, and I actually picked those up at Hobby Lobby. We're going to brush us a small amount of Mod Podge on the top. We'll let it dry just a tiny bit, and then we'll dip it into the the gold leaf, and then just lightly brush over it with a dry paintbrush to smooth it down. Now, once it's dry, you can go back over the top with a little bit more Mod Podge if you like, but it's really not necessary. And we just did the top of the knob. We didn't do the whole knob. Just trying to pull that little bit of gold in as an accent color. I added a little bit of gold leaf to the tile itself, a few of the red dots, and then I'm going to add the knob just using some really heavy duty hot glue. And the hanger's already attached to these at the top. I left those on. And here's what our recreation of those wall hooks look like. It's our kind of little take on what we saw at the store. Now for our fourth project today, we're going to use this pull noodle. We're also going to need some flowers from Dollar Tree. There's a couple different versions that will work really well for this. We'll need some Spanish moss. Also some of the faux leather from Dollar Tree, and these wooden pencil cups. We'll need some string, and then we'll use a little bit of hot glue, scissors, a ruler. We'll need a hole punch, and then one of the rotary cutters. We're going to use that again, some gel stain, a sponge. We're also going to need some gloves, and then a lighter. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to stain the cups. Now, this is actually from an old video. If you guys have seen this project before, you're correct if it looks familiar. And I actually put these on a wall hook, but I thought these looked really pretty and matched the color scheme for what we're doing in the room. So we're using this dark black, it's kind of like a burnt wood. So once it dries, it turns into a lighter gray color, even though it looks black right now. We completely cover the pencil cup, and then we're going to measure that faux leather to see how wide we need to cut it. And then we'll use the rotary cutter in a straight edge to cut two pieces. They're 2.5 inches by 9 inches, and that'll be plenty big enough to wrap around the pencil cup. So like I said, I had used these in a previous video, and I just thought the color scheme would work really well with what we're doing here. So I decided to go ahead and add it to this video. So you guys, anyone who's missed it, who likes this kind of color scheme, would be able to see what the whole thing looks like from start to finish. So now we've got our leather cut out. We're just going to cut a few holes in the sides with the hole punch. So I start doing the edges first, and then work my way towards the center to make sure that they're evenly spaced out. If the paper cutter doesn't go all the way through the faux leather piece the first time, that's okay. Just go ahead and punch through as best you can, and then you can go in and just pull out those little punches with your fingers, because some of the little strands don't want to punch through sometimes. So now we've got those down to size. We're going to glue it on the back of the pencil cup, and then take your string and you're going to lace this up just like you would a shoelace. At the top, you can go ahead and glue that string down just to help hold the knot in place. Cut off your excess string at the top and then singe the edges with your lighter, and that'll help keep the string over time from fraying. I did end up adding some gold glitter washi tape around the center of this to tie in that gold element, which you'll see at the end here. So then we're just going to glue a pull noodle piece down into the center of the pencil cup. At the top, we'll add some more hot glue and a little bit of Spanish moss just to cover the red from the pole noodle, cut off any Spanish moss that's a little too wild and wanting to stick out the top. And then all we have to do now is add our flowers into the center. You can add some hot glue to the stem of the flowers if you like. That will help them stay in a little bit longer over time. But like I said, I also added that gold washi tape, which you can see here around the middle. And I just love the way that looks. So some other ideas, they have these trays at Dollar Tree with the gold tea light candle holder. And I just use that with this gold heart that Dollar Tree also sells. And I put together a little display by gluing the candle holder to the tray. And you can set that on the table or on the candle holder. It's really up to you, but just an idea how you can make a raised tray. They have these framed glass mirrors also at Dollar Tree with these small wicker baskets. And then these really pretty hearts that are out right now for Valentine's Day. Really simple little display. You can just add your mirror, add the basket and the hearts. And that's a really creative, cute idea that kind of goes with everything. Then like the round trays, they also have these oval trays that you can use, and some vases and different glass pieces and flowers also from Dollar Tree. So everything you see there is from the Dollar Tree, just some other ideas what you can use to help decorate in this color scheme and kind of this boho idea, a little bit of shabby chic with the gold and the dark berry wine color with the really pretty rose. I just love this color scheme and how nice it all looks together. I think it's really going to come together when the room is finished. I'm really excited to see it when it's done. But just to show you guys, we could, obviously recreate items on a budget. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. And here are some other videos from our channel that you might also enjoy. I hope you have a lovely day, and I'll see you next time.